Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Think Tank, the actual version of the Tank here in New York City. We're broadcasting from Advertising Week. Thanks for joining us. It's day 2 here at Advertising Week, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Jim Butler, who's the president of Isobar. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we this week have been talking with folks here in the Tank about a variety of things, primarily focused on what the future of digital experiences is going to look like. And before we dig into that, I'm hoping you can just give us a little bit of background on Isobar, what it is that you're doing, and maybe even what you're doing here this year at Advertising Week.
Sure, great. So just quick, thanks for having us. Isobar is a very strategic partner of Adobe's, and that relationship's been long-standing for many, many years. Isobar is a full-service global digital agency. We're in 45 countries across 71 offices. And really it's about defining, designing, and building digital ecosystems and products for large brands. So I've been with the organization for about 11 years now, and it's really a great group of individuals that are very focused on innovation and very focused on bringing different disciplines together to invent and to bring to life very impressive solutions for our clients.
Thanks for being a partner. Yeah. So I mentioned we're talking about digital experiences, and the idea of a consumer experience I know is something that's been core to what Isobar is involved in. You've talked a lot about the idea of narrative spaces, and I'm wondering if you can help define what it is that you mean when you talk about narrative spaces, and perhaps talk about that in the context of creating an experience-focused brand.
Sure. So last year at AdWeek, Advertising Week, I spoke about narrative spaces with Dave Meeker. And really what it is you think of the different touch points that should be, or actually are part of any experience, but unfortunately what we see in most cases, and we'll probably talk about that later, is that these experiences aren't connected, right? So a brand is represented across all these different touch points. So what we do is we really think about what are those touch points, what are those narrative spaces where we can have a conversation with a client. And then we want to be the choreographer of those experiences, right? So how do we knit together those experiences so that it is a cohesive experience where the client or customer, prospective customer, really feels like the brand knows them. And it really assists with brand loyalty and hopefully with conversion and additional sales for the brand.
So as you think about those narratives that you're stitching together, is there a steel thread that connects those, maybe in terms of some of the common features that would be involved from experience to experience that you want to ensure stay in each of those as you work with a client?
Yeah, so there's actually 2 pieces, right? So the first piece is, I talked a lot about ideas without limits. You have to go beyond what everybody is designing for today and really think out of the box as far as what are those narrative spaces and what are the possibilities that are out there. And then what's exciting is in the last, say, 15 years or so, there's been this promise of data, this promise of mobility, this promise of connected experiences. And so I know I'm sitting here in an Adobe think tank, and this is not an Adobe commercial.
Yeah.
But what you've done over the last, say, 4 years with your Marketing Cloud has really been brilliant, right? So what you've done is you've brought together all the different pieces that allow those narratives to talk to each other. And so now we're able to take data that is, in the past, was really undefinable and we couldn't understand it, to now being able to use your different tools to understand and segment that data and then allow those channels to come to life through your technology. So I think it's really about thinking big and thinking wide, which we've always done. But I'd have to say that putting those experiences together in a very cohesive way has been very difficult over the years. It took a lot of manpower to bring those to life. But with the assistance of Adobe's Marketing Cloud, I really feel confident that our teams and our clients have the ability to bring those experiences to life.
So one thing that you point out, you talk about the data streams. you and I were talking just earlier about the fact that the CIO is in a maybe somewhat of a precarious situation. The CIO has access to just mounds of data streams coming from seemingly every direction.
Right.
And there's an opportunity there for the CIO to potentially empower marketers to use that to create these experiences.
Right.
How is it that a CIO can be more involved in helping the marketer to create that strong narrative, that strong experience?
Yeah, so as we all know, right, CIOs and CMOs didn't always get along, right? And there's a bit of a power shift that we're seeing amongst a lot of our clients where the CMOs are getting a lot more budget. And what's exciting about the Marketing Cloud as an example is that those two parties are now getting together business problems, because the CIO that was really worried about all the different data sources and the CMO that was all worried about the experiences, they have to work together now. Otherwise they won't be successful. So if you look at your the DMP solution, right, and pick any DMP solution, but let's stick on Adobe's, the ability to bring first, second, and third party data together into that DMP, and then really understand those segments. We have a group called our Marketing Intelligence Group, which is a combination of Forbes Consulting and Copernicus, two of the best firms in the world around market segmentation. Now what they have is not only the data science to figure out what data is there, but now we have the tools to house that and then to activate those channels based on that DMP. The other piece is your analytics and your multivariate testing piece allow it to be a complete closed loop, right? So as we understand what the data is in your DMP solution, we activate the channels and then we learn from that. What's working, what's not? What do we think we knew about the consumer, about that data, that we actually found out later is actually different? And then based on that, we can loop that back in and make that data smarter. So again, I think the CMOs and the CIOs are playing much nicer together now. And I think they're really rallying around solutions that have all these pieces buttoned up. There is still quite a bit of work to make all of these pieces work together. So from a marketing standpoint, the way that Adobe's marketed the cloud has been brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. But you still need, or our clients still need, the assistance of a company like Isobar to think through how those technologies really work together, right? So, and button those together so that it's not an out-of-the-box solution, but it's something very tailored and differentiating for them.
Which is the value of our partnership.
Absolutely.
Are you able to share examples, whether generic or specific, of companies that you've worked with where you've been able to start to take this idea of this closed loop, this almost cyclical process where you go from inception of idea all the way through the completion, feedback, and integration of that feedback into the next campaigns?
Yeah, so we're working with a major media brand right now, and I'll be a little bit generic there. We are using, I'd say, 6 out of these 7 products. Yep. What's really astounding is to sit with the head of the media group for Adobe and have him challenge our folks around, let's help us understand solutions versus products. And I think what we're trying to help Adobe with is it's really about the solution. It's less about the product. The client doesn't care about what product it is. They want to get to a solution. So in the case of this media company, it's really been us not only understanding how this organization works, understanding the other players in the space, but then really having intimate knowledge about what your tools can provide, and then talking to them in terms of business value, not in terms of campaign and target and AEM, et cetera. So that's a really good example of, and I don't think there is another example out there where all of those products are being used in unison, and that's about to go live very soon.
That's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Love to hear more about that. So as we think about the progress of technology that's there to help the marketer, you go back and you say, the different waves that we've had from the inception of early marketing technologies, it almost seems like initially there was this focus on the back office technologies that would facilitate and help the marketer, right? Almost database focused. And then we got front office focused technologies. And what I like about where we're at today in this next wave of technologies is it feels like we're finally to the point where the technologies are actually built to help focus on that customer. Yeah. Right? It's customer-focused, experience-focused technology.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's not just for the marketers, it's technology in general. as you think about the technologies that are, perhaps today hyped in either for good or for worse, some of them are hyped appropriately, some of them maybe not hyped enough, or some are overhyped.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the technologies that you really feel are in the best position to create that really relevant experience for customers?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about hype for a minute, I think the first part I would focus on is less about technology and a little bit more about the concept of big data. So think about how that's evolved in about a year, maybe a year and a half. Everything was about big data. Now it's really about smart data, right? So to me, your tools, in particular your DMP, allows us to bring the data in from the different sources, and as I mentioned before, learn from that. So as far as tools go that are really bringing that to life, I think it's really a combination of the tools, but also the abilities of people to think outside of the box, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
So,
when you think about things like the Internet of Things, augmented reality, virtual reality, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, even to the point of chatbots,
Yeah.
are there any of those that you would look at and say, yeah, I'm really excited about the promise of one of those and what that ultimately gives?
yeah, I mean, I hear about some of our competitors focusing on machine learning, and I say, let's leave that to IBM to figure out, right? We are betting pretty big on VR. We really believe that there is brand experiences that we've never seen before that will be realized through VR. And obviously the way these devices work today and the horsepower required for them to really bring meaningful experiences to life needs a lot of work. But we are betting pretty big on VR as a big part of experiences. And again, another narrative space, as I talked about before, that will be expected at some very near future point. If you think about mobile in the old days, there were so many people waiting for the devices to catch up with the ideas. The ideas, we're not waiting, right? We were the first ones back in 2004 to think about immersive experiences around your Flash platform at the time, and Flex, and cinematic experiences, not page-based experiences. And we believe that we've always been ahead of the curve, and we believe that virtual reality is something that's going to be very large. Although augmented reality, we're doing some work for the US Air Force right now, a prototype to help servicemen understand how to change out parts on an aircraft, right? So the ability to visualize work that doesn't require manuals real time. So we're doing some really interesting work there too. But VR and AR are two areas that we think are going to be fairly significant in our space.
And I guess you'd probably say that even with these new technologies, VR, AR, whatever the case might be, whatever technology, it needs to be part of that narrative that you talked about. It
Yeah.
can't become this one-off thing.
Exactly.
We need to find a way to ensure that it's part of the overall narrative that is being created by the brand.
Right. And for now, it's probably a little bit of an outlier, right? Certain clients are beginning to work with us on taking a bit of a flyer. I think we'll look back in 2 years and realize that was very premature work. But the stuff we're doing right now for very large, well-known brands is quite impressive and very exciting to see what the results are. So,
Last question.
yeah.
What advice would you give to a brand that is hearing you talk about this and saying, I feel like it's just so much talk? What's a good first step for them to take as they try to move forward in a world where they're trying to create these joined narratives?
Yeah. Well, I would say that they should look back and realize that about 16 or 17 years have passed since we talked about ATG's promise of very immersive experiences, personalized experiences. And if you fast forward and look at the data, mobile, the immersive web, that there are experiences now that trump anything that brands have seen before, right? So what do they need to do? They really need to, and a lot of our clients are scared. They really don't know what to do, right? So they need a great platform, right? One that has a vision, one that can really connect all of the dots, maybe not perfectly today, but perfectly tomorrow. A company that's really focused on the right acquisitions to fill out that marketing cloud, but they also need a partner that is forward-looking, forward-leaning as far as being very innovative, but understanding the brand and those brand experiences. And so I truly do believe that Isobar is differentiated and has been doing it for a very long time, helping clients with business transformation, helping clients with really thinking about new experiences that bring the consumer right to the center. And so I think for any clients out there, it's about finding the right partner that you can trust, that has the experience, finding the right product and tool sets, and make sure that those two companies have worked together successfully before, as we have, to bring those experiences to life and reduce the risk of bringing those experiences to life.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your partnership. Thanks for joining us here in the tank. It's great to meet you.
Yeah,
and
great
spend
meeting you
time
too.
with
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Thanks.